is a writer and improviser. What he may lack in scientific knowledge, he also lacks in every other field of human knowledge, too. Brutally honest. After taking part in the two previous BAHFests here in 2016 and 2017, he's thrilled to be back here once more to share his ideas and collaborate. And as he always strongly believes, there is no I in science. Ed Thorne!
Ladies, gentlemen, YouTube live stream. Today I want to talk about bilateral symmetry in animals. So most animals, including humans, are bilaterally symmetric. But this doesn't apply to organisms in general. So why are animals almost invariably bilaterally symmetric, with the left half basically the same as the right half? The conventional explanation for this is that it makes locomotion more efficient. It's easier to walk or run when the left leg is the same as the right leg. It's easier to swim as well because you're more streamlined if the two halves are the same. But this explanation is sorely lacking. Firstly, why are some animals, like starfish, not bilaterally symmetric? And secondly, if it's really more efficient to have both halves do the same amount of work, why do humans and other animals tend to develop a dominant hand, dominant foot, dominant eye, dominant eyebrow? Surely it would be more efficient to divide the work equally. So we need a deeper explanation, and boy, are you in luck. Because I hypothesize tonight that the reason we are bilaterally symmetric is because asymmetric animals get freaked out by mirrors. And furthermore, getting freaked out carries an intrinsic evolutionary cost. So we're going to explain this by basically doing a chronological walk through evolutionary history. So way back in the past, I don't know if you've ever been to the past, imagine you're in prehistory, some kind of animal going to a lake for a drink. You bend over the water, and what do you see but your reflection? But what do you actually see? If you're a symmetric animal, the image you see is basically the same as what you see when you look at any other member of your species. You don't have to think hard about what you're seeing. It's clearly not a threat. It's just another member of your tribe. Everything's fine. You take a drink. You go off and do other animal things. Everything's great. If you're an asymmetric animal, the image is flipped. The thing you're seeing in the water doesn't match anything that you've seen before. It doesn't look like another member of your own species. What is it? Is it a threat? Is it hostile? Is it a predator? You're going to waste valuable cognitive resources figuring out what the heck this thing is. At best, you're just going to waste time and you're going to get unnecessarily stressed. At worst, you might even think it's a threat. You might try and fight it. You could fall in. You could drown. Drowning is a terrible evolutionary strategy. Yeah, so that's the basic idea, and this immediately makes two predictions. Firstly, we should expect to see more asymmetric animals in places where there aren't many mirrors, like under the sea. We do. And furthermore, organisms that don't have eyes and don't have brains aren't going to be bothered by this. And this totally explains why it's animals that are encumbered with bilateral symmetry and not things like plants and fungi and microscopic organisms. They can afford to be not to be bilaterally symmetric. We can't. Yeah. So, moving a little bit forwards in evolutionary history to societies, one social invention humans came up with was clothing, which allows us to alter our appearance much more easily and flexibly than through genetics. And you'll notice that early clothing was highly asymmetric, very haphazard, and modern clothing is basically symmetric. So why did this happen? Well, notice at the same time, over the course of human history, human access to mirrors has also gone up. That's a correlation right there. It's interesting to note as well that the most asymmetric clothing has often been the preserve of the elite, which I propose that this is a handicapping mechanism akin to the peacock's tail, where if you're wearing some fancy asymmetric clothing, you're basically saying, look, I'm such a genetically gifted organism that I can afford to take the evolutionary hit of getting freaked out by my own reflection. Therefore, you should mate with me. So yeah, societies also have a range of technologies they can develop, and some technologies do depend on mirrors. So if you're an asymmetric creature that shuns mirrors for fear of getting freaked out, you're going to lose out on cameras, microscopes, telescopes, fiber optics, lasers, and halls of mirrors, all of which have massively contributed to our success as a species. And it's not just that, there's more basic things like windows. Even a pane of glass has a slight reflection that you just can't risk if you're asymmetric. So you can't have windows, so all your houses are either going to have to be exposed to the elements or really dark. And then there's other issues like logistics, transportation. How much more dangerous is driving when you don't have mirrors? So that brings us up to the present day, I guess. I now want to look to the future. What predictions does this make for the future? Well, notice now that we have the technology to easily mass-produce concave mirrors. Concave mirrors flip left and right twice, which is the same thing as not flipping at all. Fun fact. There's actually no incentive for humans to remain symmetric anymore, which means that the pressure to asymmetrically optimize can run unchecked. Right now, your dominant hand might be slightly better at playing tennis, but if we allow asymmetry to take its course, then, you can do even better. Right now, you might have a side that you prefer to be photographed from, but, what if evolution could shift all your good features onto one side? It's even better. Maybe when you dance, you've got 2 left feet. Evolution can give you 2 right feet. But it doesn't stop here, because there's nothing holding the asymmetry in check, and you want to have as specialized halves as possible, so the 2 halves are just going to go increasingly different over time. They're going to end up with entirely different genetics and biology, and then their chemistry is going to become different. And then, in the quest to become as asymmetric as possible, their very physics are going to end up separating. You're basically going to end up with 2 species splitting off from each other, living in kind of parallel universes, each unaware of their shared genetic origins, each unaware of the other civilization's existence. But there might be subtle hints that there's this parallel species out there. For example, you might notice that there seems to be, say, a large amount of mass missing from the universe. That's dark matter, by the way. I'm done, also.
Have you considered using vampires as a test subject?
Okay, so this is a serious scientific hypothesis. And I'd appreciate it if you treated it with the respect that it deserves. But I mean, if vampires were real, to actually answer the question, then yeah, so actually what you could do is you could take basically humans and vampires, and then you could stick them in, separate clean white rooms for like a few millennia, and with some mirrors in there, and then, you'd expect the vampires to, not be pressured into remaining symmetrical, and you expect the humans who see their own reflections to not to have that pressure. So yeah, actually, if vampires were real, Jen, if they were real, then it would be great. This would be so much easier. I could come with reams of data for you. But because they're not, and you had to rub that in my face, I can't.
So we can not only make concave mirrors, but we can also use screens to mirror. You've got your phone, you've got your camera, your screen, but then you can do all kinds of things. You can wrap yourself around in a torus, a donut. You can create sort of 3 kaleidoscope effects, and all sorts of weird things. So should we be starting to explore trilateral, quadrilateral symmetry, all kinds of rotational symmetry, and Marcus de Sautoy's dreams come true?
Yeah, that's a very good point, Tim. speaking as an economist, it's interesting to note, actually, that when you take a selfie, if you do that, kids, it actually does go and flip the picture because people are used to looking in a mirror, but then when you actually take the picture, it unflips it because you want the actual photo. We are so now used to seeing ourselves in mirrors that basically nothing is, almost not getting flipped is going to freak us out more. So yeah, we're pretty much at the point where you can distort our images however you want, and we've understood like the whole conceit of pictures now, right? Like we understand it's not, your soul hasn't been trapped, it's just an image. And yeah, it would be really interesting to see if we go into new realms of like, you know, trilateral symmetry, quadrilateral symmetry, pentalateral symmetry. The possibilities are etymologically confusing. But furthermore, I think we should take this as potential evidence that starfish are actually an advanced civilization that went through this.